Man Wes here, and welcome to day 29 of Shocktoberfest 2023. We've had a couple requests in the past few days. This one comes from my best friend in the whole wide world, Mr. Hefe Jeff Matson. You might remember him from our What's Your Poison episodes, and also on his own channel, Beer You, Beer Me. Today, for his request, we have the 1973 Andy Warhol's Flesh for Frankenstein. Let me tell you, I've never seen this movie before, and you know what, Jeff? Thank you for letting me watch this movie, or asking me to watch this movie, because this is a hoot! So this movie is basically an adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but they crank it up to, I would say 11, but 11 doesn't seem like enough. In this adaptation, the Baron Frankenstein is making a creature. Much like to the idea of the Serbian ideals or the idea of the ancient Greeks. And what he wants to do is he wants to make this creature of man and also make another creature of woman, and then they will come together and mate and basically make the perfect race. I feel like in history this has been done before. Anyways, we're getting too political on that one, so we're just going to talk more about the film. So pretty much, in a nutshell, this is what happens. The Baron is making these creatures from different body parts of what he feels is perfect. His wife, who actually is his sister, which is having affairs with stable boys and anybody she can get her hands on. And eventually, these two creatures, they're not really liking what's going on with everything. And yeah, everything falls apart. They have children together, and eventually they take on the throne, and we don't know what happens to them, and I don't know if they've made a movie to follow up with this, and even if they did, oh, we're talking about some more what the fuckery, aren't we, folks? Okay, now it's time to talk about what I like and what I don't like about the film. What I like about this film is that there's so much dysfunction going on. Jerry Springer could be rolling in his grave right now, not being able to see all of the dysfunction. I mean, he was alive when the movie came out, but still, could you imagine if he had them on his show? That would have been epic. I also love the fact that Udo Kier is Baron Frankenstein in this film. I've been very familiar with a few things that he's done, but I mean, he's been in everything almost. But the two movies that I remember him in vividly are one of my all-time favorite horror movies, Suspiria, for a brief encounter as a doctor or a psychologist at pretty much at a university, and also as the man who owns the marina and the shark in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So yeah, and he literally, just his antics and just his delivery and everything, there's humor to it, there's suspense, there's everything in this one, and I love that. Even though this movie is very hokey in its entirety, I would dare say this is one of those movies that MST3K, for those living under a rock or the younger generations, Mystery Science Theater 3000, would have a field day doing riff tracks and making jokes, because when I watched this movie, and Becca came in about halfway through, and I'm sitting there cracking jokes, because it's just like, this is definitely one of those, like, a la Rocky Horror callback line movies. And that's the joy of it. That's just how amazing this is. When it comes to things that I don't like about the film, it's very hard, because this movie has very good pacing. The plot is actually accurate enough where it's like you can stay invested. And not just that, but the performances, a lot of the performances, whether it's some of it's dubbed, some of it's not, it just flows so fluently to the point where it's just like you're laughing, but you know that with the special effects, which are pretty good for its time, because, hey, Demonia, this was about 20 years before you, and they didn't have a lot of that bad blending, so yeah, eyes on you right there. Theirs was better. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to things that I don't like, it's very few and far between. It's very difficult to find things that I don't like, because this movie definitely has that concept of it's so bad it's good. And when it's, a movie where Andy Warhol's name is tacked onto it, Andy Warhol was an enigma of himself way back in the day with the things that he did with art. So, yeah, I mean, it could be along the lines of, like, Caligula and Only down south in Europe and...
Down South Europe here, all of a sudden,
But anyways, I digress. It's time to grade this movie. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna give this a solid A. Because literally, I was a little bit concerned when I saw, you know, just like how hokey it could have been. But at the same time, they made so many things work. So that is why this movie gets a solid A. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure you leave a thumbs up. If you have seen this movie and you don't agree with me, you can leave a thumbs down. I totally understand. However, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, kiddies, you push that little red button, and don't forget to ring that bell for instant updates. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and we will see you tomorrow for day 30 of Shocktoberfest 2023 with something completely different.